Hi everyone, this is my third and final attempt at reading this lovely article from the latest issue of Library Resources and Technical Services, written by Mr. Jim Hahn, and I've read it midway through twice, and so far it's been good. But I can't stand the suspense of not finishing it, so if this crashes again today, I'm just going to finish it with my eyeballs and just give up and assume I'm just not meant to share it with the rest of the world. Because apparently, well, not apparently, you'll see, there's some interesting stuff in here. So, bifurcation of semi-automated subject indexing services. Alright, trying not to lose anybody, trying not to read too fast, but yeah, if I sound a little bored, it's like I said, I've read this twice through already, to about midway through. So, knowledge workers face an ever-increasing expansion of the knowledge universe, therefore skilled professionals require increased support to extend their specialized expertise, and semi-automated tools based upon machine learning may help support their subject description tasks. Semi-automated subject indexing offers opportunities to reference and extend professional cataloger skills, in contrast to completely automated support, as complete automation has eroded some professional skills. Goel reported several studies that indicated improved outcomes and accuracy when automated techniques were used for subject indexing in scientific fields. In the same article, however, Goel remarked in reference to fully automated subject indexing approaches that algorithms are not able to entirely replace the intellectual work of subject indexing professionals. It is also apparent that studying the way subject indexing professionals will utilize automated services in practice needs sustained scholarly inquiry to parallel technical advances. Scholarship centered on knowledge worker preference with respect to automated machine learning support and artificial intelligence has found that AI and knowledge work needs to focus not on full automation, but rather on collaborative approaches where humans and AI work closely together, and that boundaries, factors, and circumstances of such collaboration should be studied empirically. The empirical project herein utilizes ANF learning software as an example case for professionals to consider features of machine learning models. The ANF automated subject indexing approach requires loading a linked data subject vocabulary first, and then processing training data for the vocabulary. System designers may select one or several algorithms for the model. The ANF system then generates subject suggestions in the targeted linked data vocabulary. Previous work explored methods for semi-automated subject suggestions using ANF, introducing data flows and likely feedback mechanisms to develop semi-automated support. Prior work on ANF development for use within linked data editors concluded that if automation is to be useful for the communities it seeks to support, it must be ushered in with a profound appreciation for and in collaboration with the professionals the automation would support. Yes, we don't want to feel like the robots are replacing us. Compiling user feedback on semi-automated support as a departure point shifts from generalized subject support into domain-specific areas. The reference here into domain is to that of linguistic domain, not a domain of study. Blair reviewed seminal work pertaining to information retrieval in the philosophy of language, particularly the philosophers of language that argued for contextual uses of language qua meaning. Blair goes on to extend this into document descriptions. If the context of activities and practices are important for understanding language, it stands to reason that the activities and practices are important for understanding document descriptions too. Hence the metadata description as linguistic domain and object of analysis. This work continued a sustained inquiry into the ANF software tool for semi-automated subject indexing support. Linked data editors can integrate ANF by way of common web development patterns. This approach represents advances over what was possible in automating subject indexing previously. Prior work underscored how challenging the Library of Congress subject heading vocabulary was, and indicated that it was too complex to enable automated services useful to libraries. Indeed, due to certain See, I always screw up systematic and systemic, so guys, just deal with me. I'm going to be tripping over that this whole reading. Indeed, due to certain systematic idiosyncrasies in LCSH, prior research found that the automatic analysis on syntactic structures in LCSH failed to uncover the precise semantics intended in subject headings in all cases because of their innate inconsistency. Introducing predictable syntaxes into LCSH and using them consistently will greatly assist in mining correct semantics of subject headings. Predictable and the intended semantics can be retrievable based on syntax. More recent scholarship underscores the importance of formalizing subject languages for linked data applications such as the semantic web. The LCSH construction mechanism manages semantics very thinly in terms of its formalistic representations, while using natural language extensively for enhancing its flexibility and expressiveness. However, this expressiveness cannot be transferred to the semantic web. The atomic parts of subject languages are an exemplar of the attributes found in metadata descriptions. We're talking atomic as in each field or subfield represents a specific piece of metadata. The database literature defines attributes as some property of interest that further describes an entity. The intellectual foundation of information organization includes a chapter on bibliographic languages, and within the scope of this chapter posits the following exemplars of attributes: author, title, edition, and subject. The properties of metadata descriptions are the general attributes that comprise bibliographic descriptions. The mathematician Vladimir Arnold, whose work was applied to areas of nonlinear systems, wrote that bifurcation is a branching process that is widely used to describe any situation in which the qualitative topological picture of the object we are studying alters with a change in which the parameters of the object depends. So kind of like folding up a blanket, if you move the edges, the size of the topological area changes. So to borrow from Arnold, the uses of metadata attributes here represent the parameters which it is theorized are influential in the way subject terminology is assigned. If the training data branch according to its attributes in the metadata description, the results are a new set of training data with a qualitatively different parameters than non-bifurcated or general sets of training data. The two overarching research questions addressed in the study are how can knowledge workers be involved in curating and selecting the data used as the input in machine learning, and does knowledge worker collaboration in machine learning model development lead to acceptance and use of machine learning tools by knowledge workers? A survey developed for this research inquired about the types of ongoing feedback in which professionals would be interested in participating to shape future semi-automated service development. The background section details the linguistic domain areas of language and genre, which provides a useful context for the methods and results sections that follow. The paper concludes with a discussion of the key survey findings and a comparative analysis of pilot and if services developed with the input from the survey. That's the part I want to get to, guys. The pilot and if services include general enough machine learning models, contrast with models that are branched according to genre preferences found in the survey. The discussion will delineate subject retrieval metrics for specialized NF genre services, contrasted to non-bifurcated or general NF services. Results show that several genres of interest were improved by utilizing genre-focused training data. So, on to background. With respect to language branching in the NF set of services, there are ample approaches to the treatment of language and subject indexing in the information science literature. The Multilingual Access to Subject, or MAX project, contains human-derived mapping of vocabularies. In the MAX project, library professionals were engaged in mapping among different subject heading languages to allow searchers to use their preferred languages to search. The strategy employed in this linking was human-derived mappings among German, French, and English subject vocabularies. This approach contrasts with direct bilingual or multilingual subject cataloging policies and practices. Another example for support for languages, Bibliotheca Alexandria's subject authority file and linked subject data, where users who search Arabic titles can search in non-Romanized Arabic scripts. In the context of the NIF machine learning software, support for languages has evolved over time. Previous versions of the NIF software reference the language code in the source vocabulary. However, since the release of the 0.59 version, the software no longer requires a specific language in the source vocabulary. In effect, the NF system is now multilingual. An out-of-distribution problem is the result of training data that are unlike the data used to make a prediction in the real-world situation. Attending to the linguistic attributes of metadata description, including genre, form, type, may help to ensure that the attributes in a metadata description improve the precision and recall of a subject indexing term and ultimately prevents out-of-distribution errors. The development of genre-specific NF services trained only on subjects with targeted genres tests in this paper. These genre-specific targets may provide more accurate subject indexing terms. To develop such a service, the training data included only subjects assigned in a metadata description that was from a targeted genre domain. A previous conference paper detailed the challenge of reusing genre form assignments. In particular, the work by Li and Zhang reported the cataloging and coding authorities had preferred form to genre, but failed to provide a rigorous and useful definition for either or a clear and consistent distinction between the two. And I struggle with this too. I teach video cataloging and I'm like, about a thing, but what the thing is of, but sometimes it's in the subject headings and not in the genre form. The authors noted further in their study that genre terms are forms of social action. Hyder, White, and Barlow explored the uses of genre in domains outside of libraries and made a systematic study of mapping genre terms from other domains, such as the International Movie Database, Wikipedia, and others, to the Library of Congress genre form terms. The Library of Congress notes that the genre form terms are a distinct vocabulary, and that genres and forms may be more broadly defined as categories of resources that share known conventions. More specifically, genre form terms may describe purpose, structure, content, and/or themes of resources. Genre form terms describing content and themes most frequently refer to creative works and denote common rhetorical devices that usually combine elements such as plot and setting, character types, etc. Such terms may be closely related to the subjects of the creative works, but are distinct from them. The findings from Hyder, White, and Barlow show that some vocabularies of film genre are considerably closer to that of the LCGFT than are others, but that overall alignment between film vocabularies is hard to predict and dependent upon a number of interrelated variables. The authors note that differing perspectives of genre are an important consideration when mapping among varied vocabularies. More recently, scholarship on establishing a framework for formats has been successful in providing a structure to understand and address elements of format that become entwined with genre types. Specifically, a binary is introduced among the conceptualization of containers to genres. Examples of a container were asserted to be books and journals, whereas exemplars of genre include articles, chapters, editorials. The conceptualization of genres and container types as abstractions bears a striking resemblance to the manner in which the concept of works in library and information science are frequently referenced. Genres are abstractions, and they should be understood as mental models that people develop and deploy when trying to achieve certain types of genre actions. And container types are also abstractions, and individual publication is an instantiation of a container type. Instantiation being the fancy word for made physical. This abstraction for genres and containers is a valuable frame from which this present research will turn to again in discussion of key findings. It is important to underscore, however, that in case of both the MAX project on languages and the LCGFT mapping study of genres, human intermediaries were involved in carrying the mappings. Mappings among disparate vocabularies are a foundation of metadata interoperability. Professionals with subject expertise can improve the labeling of small amounts of data to improve certain types of machine learning projects when large sets of data are not available. A key consideration in this study is understanding professionals' preferred vocabulary, genres, and languages to include in semi-automated subject indexing. Now for the methods. This is the interesting survey part, so like I said, I hope we get through all this. Because the half I've read was pretty neat. An internet-based survey targeted catalogers and linked data domains. The INIF machine learning software uses linked data vocabularies for base vocabularies and training data. Because the target vocabularies are in linked data, participants from the linked data domains were sought for the study. A questionnaire gathered cataloger perceptions, beliefs for targets of machine learning that could support semi-automated indexing. The LD4 community was a source of survey advertisement and outreach. This served the interests of the research in the sense that the outputs that INIF generate are from linked data vocabularies. According to the LD4 Community Charter, LD4 is a community that works together to advance library and archival practices. We focus on linking and using data on the web to advance the mission, goals, and objectives of libraries and archives. Additional promotion of the survey was made on the metadata librarian listserv and through the professional social networking site LinkedIn. With this purposeful sampling method, there was not an attempt to obtain generalizable findings. Rather, the survey is meant to inform development of machine learning services. As the survey sought to understand preferences of semi-automated indexing system features, no attempt to discern or otherwise gather demographic information of participants was undertaken. The survey was available throughout October 2022, and nearly 70 individuals participated. Respondents had the option to skip questions of the questionnaire. Survey questions were informed by broad research concerns. What are the types of cataloging that could make use of semi-automated technology for subject assignment? How the users of such a system might expect it to behave? And how those users believe they should be consulted in the development of semi-automated support. In asking about controlled vocabularies, world languages, and a variety of possible genres that semi-automated subject indexing may support, the survey questions are directly addressing the perceptions and beliefs of catalogers working in linked data description. The author did not obtain Institutional Review Board approval for the study. The IRB office has classed this type of research within the University of Pennsylvania libraries as quality improvement when no demographic data are collected by human participants. More specifically, when no information of the participants themselves are collected, the IRB office at the University of Pennsylvania would consider this to qualify as non-human subject research. The overall focus of the study is the evaluation of the subject indexing machine learning system results and not evaluation of catalogers working in linked data. Where survey results from catalogers are reported, these are analyzed in the aggregate. Alright, we are chugging right around. The perceived usefulness of a semi-automated subject suggestion tool was the first topic of the survey. Table 1 delineates responses to the statement, semi-automated support may be useful in my work if I can shape the service through feedback. With respect to the question about vocabulary targets for semi-automated support, there was a large percentage for LCSH and some interested, well, in faceted application of subject terminology and medical subject headings, although to a lesser extent. I'm going to skip the exciting tables. Responses in the other category include mentions of the following vocabularies: Homosaurus, Getty Art and Architecture Thesaurus, Conspectus, Répertoire de Vendettes Métiers de la Université Laval, the Virtual International Authority File, Library of Congress Demographic Group Terms, Library of Congress Media Performance Thesaurus, Gender, Sex, and Sexual Orientation Ontology, Rare Books and Manuscripts Section, Controlled Vocabularies, Library of Congress of Children and Young Adults Cataloging, Canadian Name Authority and Subject Headings, National Library of Israel, Thesaurus for Graphic Materials, and Geonames. The survey included a prompt for the targeted language desired to support subject suggestions. Table 3 shows top 20 responses for languages support. Nearly 30% of the responses in language included other languages, with suggestions for the following: Spanish, Yiddish, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Serbatian, Croatian, any of those Slavic and Eastern European languages, of which there are a bunch, and modern Turkish. Table 4 delineates the responses to which genre areas would be most useful for semi-automated subject support. A total of 17% of the responses to the genre form questions selected the other category for genre form and reported the following areas as potential targets: catalogs and exhibitions, belles lettres, censuses, local history, ebooks, graphic materials, and religion. The survey provided an option for genre as a combination of those terms found in FAST and LCGFT, such as biography and FAST, biographies in genre form terms. Table 5 shows the responses to the question, if and if could provide results upon a selected country of origin of the publication, please register which countries you would like to be able to select as a focus of semi-automated suggestions. So again, nice tables. The survey also asked whether the respondent would recommend the INIF service to a friend or colleague, as word-of-mouth recommendations may be representative of trust. Table 6 contains the responses. The survey asked catalogers whether semi-automated support might be useful in their work if they can modify the service through feedback. Not all those who took the survey responded to this question about ongoing feedback. Table 7 delineates the types of continued feedback that catalogers would be interested in participating. Alright. This discussion section comprises 3 parts. First, the limitations of the study are discussed, so survey analysis can be contextualized with an understanding of those limits. A survey analysis follows with analysis interpretation of the survey results. Following the survey analysis, the discussion then transitions into an empirical test of how machine learning models trained on genre data contrasts, very long table, with the machine learning models that do not branch based on genre-specific attributes. The empirical evaluation, the third part of the discussion, reports a comparison of precision and recall metrics for tests of bifurcated and non-bifurcated machine learning approaches. A limitation for generalization of the survey results include the use of a purposeful sampling method, which sought to target catalogers working with linked data, and is not representative of all professionals do knowledge work in libraries. Nonetheless, purposeful sampling methods address the aims of the study, which are to understand the broad question of professionals involved in curating and selecting the data used as input into machine learning as perceived usefulness. Outside of generalization limitations, a more specific limitation is that soliciting survey data from the internet is a trade-off between reaching more people and obtaining deep qualitative interview data from an in-person interview that offers a chance for follow-up and capture body language and sentiment. Future systems that are built could be tested on small sets of users in an in-person study to supplement the survey data from this study. So we have lovely charts here. So yeah, neither agree nor disagree. Usefulness. Yeah, I'm one of those kind of like, no, just let me catalog myself. Anyway. Responses to the research question on the usefulness of semi-automated support, if shaped through feedback, as shown in Table 1, indicated slightly less than half of those who responded to the question strongly agree, almost 40% somewhat agree, and 7.4% neither agree nor disagree. And 4.4% somewhat agree, and almost 3% strongly disagree. With respect to modifying data inputs from machine learning service with the notions of ongoing feedback, Table 7 shows nearly 60% of the respondents favored provide ongoing feedback through virtual workshops or discussions. Perhaps not very surprisingly, those who want to provide feedback in virtual workshops or online discussions appear to be those in groups who may find the INF service useful if they are able to modify it. It is unclear why a large majority of those uninterested in providing additional feedback beyond the survey were from the group of respondents who registered initial strong agreement to the question of the usefulness of modifying the survey through feedback. One possibility may be attributable to the generalized nature of the request. When the language is too vague or generic, it gives respondents little to no information on what they would expect and hence lower their willingness. Another possible explanation for the incongruity in the data may be a result of survey fatigue, where attention to the questions diminishes over the course of a survey. The analysis of the respondent groups is shown in Figure 1. Or it could just be old curmudgeons like me, like, yeah, that sounds nice, but the robot is like not up to what I expect it to be up to, and I'm not in the mood to hold its hand and educate it, which sounds terrible. I'm in higher ed, okay? Like, I assume a baseline level of knowledge, and that's why I get frustrated with the AI, because I'm like, I want you to draw this for me, and it's like, no. No, I have no understanding of what you want, Dave. I'm just here to frustrate you. Which may be why the AI is augmenting, people's natural abilities to make more sense. Because I could do like a pencil sketch of like a panda eating a guy, and it could make a real looking panda and a real looking guy in the right placement that I want them. Instead of me trying to do that with prompts. Oh my god. All right. Concerns remain for large-scale automation of subject indexing. The report using automated methods in software engineering found serious issues with machine learning models that may perpetuate existing biases in training data. Approaches to highlight bias must include sufficient understanding of the datasets used in the training and the outputs of the trained model. Further, there are ample examples to ethical principles to address in AI guidelines. Recently, the U.S. Department of Commerce National Institute of Standards and Technology released its Artificial Intelligence Risk Management Framework, which is described as a guidance document for voluntary use by organizations developing, designing, or deploying, or using AI systems to help manage the many risks of AI technologies. The release of a framework from a national standards body suggests both the promise and significant risk of implementing AI technologies. Responses to the more specific research questions in the survey about the types of data input into machine learning showed a wide range of catalogers' preferences in vocabulary, language, and genre. Beyond the survey prompt of LCSH, FAST, and MESH, the other category, which was a free text field, allowed survey respondents to input their suggestions. As Table 2 shows, the results included 34.4% additional vocabularies, or higher than MESH, which was 21% of the 61 survey responses in this area selected. LCSH was the top vocabulary that 82% of the respondents selected, followed by FAST as the second most popular that 52.5% of the respondents chose. There was a variety of possibilities for languages. Top languages reported include English, French, and German. A drawback of the survey is the respondents represent only those who were able to access the survey in English. As to the previous question of vocabulary targets, nearly 30% of 15 of the 51 responses checked the other category for language. History, 63.8%, biography, 44.7%, and fiction, 40% were the top responses within the genre form inquiry. With respect to service set development for semi-automation, it appears LCSH and FAST to be the most popular areas used, and there may be many users of an NF service within the English, French, and German languages. The LCGFT implementation, and NF could also progress with a similar strategy for languages, as it may be employed if there are ample training data of sufficient quality. In the context of genre-type preferences that were reported in the survey, a subsequent test of the viability of branching along these lines was undertaken. The evaluation has both computational and measures of retrieval metrics, as well as comparative. The comparative tests are to evaluate the performance of NIF models, which are trained only on genre data, to general NIF projects which use no branching of training data for genre. The survey results for genre are used as model bifurcations in the subsection which follows. Alright, and this is where things like to drop off on me, and it looks like we're still chugging, so let's just hope I can keep my mouth moving. So this was a lovely graph. I like this graph. Not quite sure what it's showing me, but I like it. I like it anyway. Alright. Survey results as pilot bifurcations in ONF services. Yay, needed the paper. Okay. The perspective of this paper is that bifurcating machine learning services may result in better precision recall for subject assignment. Genre results from the survey were used to inform bifurcating machine learning models in NF. These pilot tests seek to address the questions: how do bifurcated machine learning models perform as compared to general models with no bifurcation of genre? And does the algorithm used have any influence on scoring outcome? Figure 2 shows a comparison of the F1 scores among general and bifurcated NF services. The F1 score is an evaluation metric in machine learning projects. It is a measure that combines recall and precision metrics. More formally, it is referred to as the harmonic mean of precision and recall. To reproduce the NF evaluations, please consult the Zenodo Open Repository. The analysis compared 2 non-bifurcated NF services for 10 NF bifurcations using test sets for genres. The algorithms used in testing included the TF-IDF, term frequency, and inverse document frequency. An algorithm makes a prediction over the importance of a term by its presence in an index of the document terms, and the parabola algorithm. The scikit-learn Python method for splitting training and testing data held back a randomized 20% of the data for use in testing. Shown in Figure 2 are the results of the F1 scores. Genre NF services improved for 7 of the 10 services. Genres with improved scores over general subject indexing include fiction, handbooks, manuals, etc., criticism, interpretation, poetry, pictorial works, periodicals, and conference proceedings. When a linked data editor has context information about the genre form in certain cases, the genre-specific NF service is more accurate than the general models that do not address any genre form. What do the genre forms with higher scores have in common? Is there a common trait among those models with the highest genre scores? A linguistic framing is a useful formalism because retrieval of domains or textual material is fundamentally a linguistic process. Yeah, because you need to know how people have described the thing. The linguistic structure of LCSH include the syntax and semantics, which again is the structure and the meaning, leaving aside for the moment the important, though out of scope for this paper, content of the LCSH labels. So we're talking about the structure and like the free-floating subdivisions, not necessarily the actual English labels in them. The linguistic analysis undertaken by Svenonius, I hope I got you right, analyzed the category semantics shown in Table 9. Svenonius reported the 3 most common syntactic constructions in LCSH contained form qualification. For those genres in Figure 2 that have higher scoring in the genre-only models as compared to general non-bifurcated models, it seems that machine learning model construction can build an association among the qualifiers for form or document types, delineated as term class 3 in Table 9. So, okay, yes, 3 more comments contain form qualifications. So those are the ones with those subfield B's unbuttoned. So, yeah, most common, and then you subdivide it. Okay, right. The genre only models as compared to non-bifurcated models. Okay, so whether or not it splits. And we're already at the conclusion. See, this feels really quick, but alright. So this paper reports survey results of knowledge workers' preferences for machine learning-based support, and the findings show their desire for continued consultation and feedback through virtual meetings and workshops. The paper also investigated both acceptance and use of machine learning tools. Emerging results indicated such services would be useful if catalogers were able to state the service. Nearly half of those responding to this question strongly agreed with the proposition. Future virtual workshops, the Bifurcation method to gather input, will provide an opportunity to form data inputs and further uses of machine learning models used in semi-automated subject indexing. Further research will report how machine learning models evolve and will analyze the effects of machine learning model changes in an NF system. Follow-up studies will report on community-supported machine learning models in further detail. Bifurcation approaches were informed by the survey of knowledge worker preferences for vocabulary, language, and genre. Tests of these bifurcations improved retrieval metrics of automated subject indexing for several, but not all, genres. By testing the hypothesis that training on bifurcated sets of genre data, as compared to general non-bifurcated machine learning services, this research provides empirical and reproducible evidence for the advantages gained by bifurcation paths with respect to genre. Further research will test additional language-based bifurcations for semi-automated subject indexing. Okay, so because subject headings in LCSH split down and are designed essentially to split things up, although there's free-floating and all sorts of other weird oddities in LCSH, I believe this is essentially saying, like, once we taught it that it could, you know, do exciting things like append the subfield V to the end of stuff for genre form, like, it learned how to do that, and then it was like, oh, I should do that all the time instead of just making up random headings using my basic AI. That's how I'm reading that. Please let me know if I'm wrong, Mr. Hahn. I'm not trying to misinterpret. Okay, just making sure this big long paragraph is where I'm supposed to be. Longer-term sustained inquiry into the problem of semi-automated subject indexing may include considerations for the way metadata descriptions depend upon conceptualizations of genre with respect to social and historical context. Catalogers in the late 20th century may have thought about genre in different ways than catalogers decided genres in the 21st. Social rules governing metadata descriptions are important to understanding the context of a description. Levinson asserted that musical composition cannot fail to be seen as a historically rooted activity whose products must be understood with reference to their points of origin. Can this perspective on musical composition be applied to considerations of genres used in bibliographic description? In Work and Object, Peter Lamarck stated that works are cultural artifacts among whose essential properties are intentional or relational properties, i.e. that what they are as works is partially dependent on how they are taken to be by qualified observers. So again, you know, art is interpreted by the observer and not necessarily the intent of the artist. These intellectual foundations may inform a perspective wherein the creation of genre may be viewed as a social activity within a contextual cultural moment. The implications for semi-automated indexing are that, as much as new technologies advance, they too must reference and adhere to the social context and social rules which technology seeks to support. In another sense, new indexing techniques must recognize and acknowledge our old indexing cultures. Yes! Yes, IT people who are taking over information science, while simultaneously co-creating new cultures of description that may be an ever more collaborative endeavor of knowledge machines and knowledge professionals. So a lot of reference. Our robots ourselves, robotics in the midst of autonomy. That actually sounds kind of cool. Alright, so we do have some stuff that's going on for metadata. Cobots in knowledge work. Semi-automated methods. Exciting. Oh yeah, Ludwig Wittgenstein. It's always going to reference Wittgenstein or something. These are logical algorithms. So people have been playing with this. Yeah, I haven't had time to work on Catbot. I wanna. But I also want to do about 900 other things. So I'm just rolling this back up so I can kind of look at this lovely chart. So it got better in this F1 reading. And a bifurcated using like data. So F at 5 and regular. Okay. I'm going to admit this is not the most transparent chart in my opinion. But hey, at least someone is trying to do some work on this. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Jim Hahn.